So let's talk about these games yesterday. Yesterday we got a few games. They were interesting. They were nice, and I want to talk about some of them. First, the Trailblazers and the Bucks. This game was crazy. Obviously, Dame returning to his old team is something that we all wanted to see, and really more than anything, it was the Bucks going crazy, especially on just. The superstars and the way that they played. The Bucks this game, they won, but they only won by 6 points, and they had to smoke the Blazers in the fourth quarter just to have a chance of winning. And they had a 26-point deficit and they had the largest comeback this season. In my opinion, that's disgraceful. From a team which we're supposed to respect as one of the best teams in the league and a team which is supposed to compete for the championship, having a 26-point deficit against far and away a a bottom three team in the league is terrible. The Bucks and the Blazers shot really inefficiently. Dame played okay. He was very positive on the floor, but he scored 31, and really the reason why they won was mostly Giannis. He just had a monster game, 33 points, 16 rebounds, 6 assists. He played his heart out, and he was great on defense to end this game. Shout out to the Blazers, though, because honestly, making it that competitive takes some skill, and honestly, even if the Bucks won in the end, that type of game, that type of challenge to the Bucks is very hard to do, especially when you're not equipped with superstars like they are. The Hawks and the Celtics played. Obviously, the Celtics won. It's not much of a surprise, It's not like the Celtics are the best team in the league, which they are. I mean, in terms of the numbers. This was really a battle, as even though the Celtics did manage to outscore them in the first two quarters, that third quarter by Atlanta was tough. And even though the Celtics did win by 10 points, we do have to give some shout-outs to Trae Young, which dropped 33 and 7, and Jason Tatum, obviously, which has just been on a tear, which he dropped 34 points. Shout out to the Celtics. They won that one by 10. Then we have to talk about probably the most interesting game yesterday, the Suns and Knicks. Honestly, the Knicks have looked pretty good. They're challenging great teams all the time, and now I've really noticed a pattern of them just being amazing when it comes to, having figured out the chemistry that got them to the place where they wanted to be last season. This Knicks versus Suns game was another one where the Suns started hot on fire, and then the Knicks slowly came back. In the fourth quarter, it was a tied game, and Devin Booker hit one of the most clutch threes I've seen in a while. Two guys on him, he just put it up, and it went in. There was 1.7 seconds to go when the three went in. In the end, he ended up dropping 28 points and 11 assists. I do want to say that Devin Booker is probably my favorite player in the NBA right now. Obviously not named Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler's my guy. That's the superstar of my team. I root for him always. But Devin Booker has just been on a tear, averaging basically 29 and 9 on almost 50, 40, 90 on this season. And he's just been an absolute monster. A madman who hasn't been able to fathom what is being bad, because this guy has been just absolutely tearing the league up. I do want to say that KD did sit out this game, and Eric Gordon did do a very nice job of stepping up for him. And I do want to say that the Suns did the right decisions. Whatever you want to say about the Suns and their moves and Bradley Beal and the fact that he hasn't played much, and whatever you want to say about them, they've made the right decisions and they got to the right places that they need to be. Also, shout out to Jalen Brunson for dropping 35 points and 8 assists. He looks crazy. He looks amazing. And shout out to Jalen Brunson. I hope that he keeps going like this. Then it's the Magic versus the Hornets. The Magic blew them out by 13. I do want to say that Lamelo Ball did get injured this game, another foot injury, which just sucks. If he's actually out for a long time, then that will be one of the biggest heartbreakers as he was balling his life away, no pun intended, obviously. But he was dropping almost 30 points, 10 assists per game. His way of being had just completely transformed from the first few weeks of the season where he looked rough. And honestly, he was about to play New York, which is a team which he's normally given buckets to. So I really do hope that LaMelo Ball is fine and that he gets to be cleared to play in a few games. I do want to say the shout out to the Magic. I think they're the best team in the East right now. Obviously, strength of schedule does play a role. We're not going to act like stupid here. The Orlando Magic have obviously had some cheat sheet with the fact that they've played teams like the Bulls, so many times, the Blazers, the Rockets. And even though, yes, they have, won against good teams, and we do have to give them that nod, I do want to see them against much better teams more consistently, because honestly the Orlando Magic right now are looking amazing, and I don't know if we could stop them if they keep going the way that they've just been going right now. On top of all of this, some more games that happen, and a few of the last games that we have 4 more games to go. The Timberwolves versus the Grizzlies. I'm not going to talk about this one much. The Timberwolves blew them out by 22 points. It's obvious, the Timberwolves have been the best defensive team in the league, plus that they can actually make buckets. And I want to say that the Grizzlies have been the worst team in the league, just unable to put wins together without John Morant, who's coming back in 9 games. I do want to say shout out to Anthony Edwards, but really this game wasn't even close, and most of the Timberwolves players played in this game. The Nets versus the Bulls, it is a good matchup, but the Nets won by 9. It was really more predicated on the fact that the Nets had a 44-point quarter in the second quarter, and that just really propelled them to win this game. I do want to say shout out to the whole Brooklyn Nets team. They all played amazingly. And shout out to DeMar DeRozan for just, putting the team on his back consistently. Zach LaVine needs to be traded. I will make a video about that soon. The Raptors versus Cavaliers, a close game down the stretch. And honestly, the Cavaliers won just because that ending play by the Raptors was terrible. Gary Trent stepped on the line. It just ruined their entire game. I do want to say the Raptors were playing amazingly, but the Cavaliers obviously didn't want to lose the second night of the back-to-back at home. And finally, we have this Spurs versus Nuggets game. This Spurs versus Nuggets game was amazing, but it does bring up some more questions which I want to talk about. This Spurs versus Magic game just really highlighted the difference in the league. I want to say shout out to Jokic. He almost dropped a 40-point triple-double. He had 39 points, 9 assists, 11 rebounds, with 5 offensive rebounds. And honestly, this team has been playing great. Jamal Murray is going to be cleared soon. Michael Porter Jr. has just been absolutely on a tear. And even with the changes to their starting lineup, they don't look like they have lost a step yet. And that's something which is really predicated on how comfortable and how well they play in their own system, And when Jokic is out on that floor, everyone's eating. And Reggie Jackson has done an amazing job of taking over for this team as their starting point guard in this 2024 season. For the Spurs, what we really can see from the Spurs, what we can just digest, is that Greg Popovich is ruining Wemby's career right now. Now, obviously, this is only his rookie season, and there are things which we obviously don't see behind the scenes. But these coaching changes and coaching decisions by the Spurs have been terrible. Victor Wembanyama, the best player on your team, the player who's supposed to get all the touches, who got 6 steals and 4 blocks this game, is supposed to be running with Jeremy Sohan as his point guard when you have Trey Jones off the bench, which has been a complete positive for you whenever he's on the floor. I do want to say that this team has benched Devin Vassell, a guy who they gave big money to this season and has always been a positive for them. And these coaching changes by the Spurs have not let Wembanyama get enough spacing, enough passing, enough shooting, and enough, run. And Jeremy Sohan at point guard has ruined Wembanyama. Obviously, it's not all predicated on Sohan, but the fact that they're doing these changes, which are so sudden, and they want to run the entire team, and they don't want to cut anyone out, really shows me that even though the Spurs are good, there is something to be said about the way that they're treating Wembanyama's first year. Obviously, Wembanyama's not perfect, and he's not bulletproof. He has had some bad games. But even when they were having great games, it was obviously predicated on the fact that Wembanyama had good guards, which complemented him. But yeah, that's what I think, and honestly, see you next video. Peace.